Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
So, whenever you're ready. Yep.
Recording in progress.
Call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heather, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Dibdahl,
Here.
Commissioner Wolf,
Here.
Commissioner Wire.
Here.
Commissioner Burrish.
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
I hear. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anything anyone wants to discuss on the consent calendar? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve consent calendar items?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under unfinished business, approve the second reading of ordinance number 1685, amend Appendix B, zoning section 1702. Jameson, you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a rezoning ordinance. It's a second and final reading. There have been no changes from the first reading. This ordinance would change the zoning on a city-owned property from highway business and agriculture to light manufacturing. This is consistent with the comprehensive land use plan and the surrounding properties. The planning commission voted on this during their January meeting on a vote of 4-2 to recommend approval of the rezoning to the city commission. Again, no changes from the first reading, and I'll stand by for questions.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 1685, amend Appendix B zoning section 17.02.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Ryan, I don't know if this would be the time, but can you do a quick overview of the process there? Kind of how we've got there and then what may be coming?
Sure. So as far as the process goes, the application itself for a rezone is fairly simple. It just involves a one-page application and a plot plan that would show the area that they plan to rezone. From there, our office notifies adjacent property owners, and then the applicant for the rezone also notifies adjacent property owners either by a petition or by certified mail. And that's done 10 days prior to the hearing. The hearing itself is to hear if the change from the zoning to the, in this case, the highway business district, to the light manufacturing is appropriate. We review the comprehensive land use plan. Staff gives a report on that. And then the planning commission decides if it's reasonable and correct to recommend to the city commission. At that time, they take a vote. If the vote is not to recommend it, this would still come to the city commission, because their voice is just a recommendation. Backing up a little bit, so the applicant is responsible to notify any adjacent property owners, and then the city notifies anyone that's adjacent or within 150 feet of that site. And then they just take a vote and they determine if they want to recommend that to the city commission, and that's it. It's a fairly simple process on that end. As far as what's upcoming, if it is to be a data center or a Bitcoin mining, there's a section in the light manufacturing that allows for other industrial or commercial uses that are consistent with the district. Because there's really no data center or Bitcoin mining on the list of principal permitted uses or spelled out in conditional uses, they would apply for that conditional use through that language. That process is very much the same as far as the notification of adjacent property owners in the application, but the planning commission would act as the board of adjustment in that case, and they would truly review and approve it, and then that would not come to the city commission. So their judgment, because they're a quasi-judicial board in that case, is final, unless there's an appeal. And if there is an appeal, it would go to circuit court, not to the city commission.
Oh, okay. So this, I mean, again, this is not a spot zone. This fits the surrounding neighborhood. It's all been looked at.
Yeah, the existing zoning, the way it is consistent with some of the adjacent property. This change from highway business to light manufacturing, it would still be consistent with areas around there and would be different than the areas to the north and to the west, but it would still be consistent. It would be contiguous and not a spot zone.
And the conditional use would be where where you really put this to work, have the conditions, the ideas, what's going on.
Yeah, and that's truly, conditional use can be any conditions that the Board of Adjustment needs to put on that application in order to make it consistent with the district. And so that can be screening, it can be, screening via a fence or via vegetation. It can set the setbacks. They'll look at the noise. In that case, the noise shouldn't be more than normal traffic noise at the property line. And so highway noise is estimated to be around 65 to 75 decibels. And so that would be the amount of noise that should be leaving that property should be consistent with that traffic. So that's something they'd look at and determine what needs to be in place in order to make sure that the decibel levels aren't exceeding what's allowed. But the planning commission really, they often take the application, what they're offering up, and saying, well, we plan to put up a 10-foot fence, or we plan to put in 10 trees. And then it's not really a negotiation, but that's kind of their jumping off point. If they're comfortable with it, they can approve it as is. If they would like to place additional conditions on that, they can.
Are you comfortable with?
No, I just wanted to go through the
No, very good.
process.
Okay, under new business, public hearing upon the application for temporary retail on-sale alcohol license, Madison Baseball Association Bingo Night at the City Armory, March 7th, 2026. Is there anyone here that wants to speak to this and that in the public? Okay. Eric?
Eric Hortness, President of the Baseball Association. This will be our third annual bingo night, and from 5 to 9 in the Armory. It's turned into a pretty good little fundraiser for our association. We have concessions, and then traditionally have done beer and carbless sales. And then winners of the bingo, we give out sunshine certificates for bacons and hams that they can turn in to get before Easter. So,
All right. Questions or comments? Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Thank you, Eric. Okay, if not, we'll move into number 8. Consider approval of the temporary retail on-sale alcohol license, Madison Baseball Association bingo night at the City Armory, March 7th, 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve the retail alcohol license to the Madison Baseball Association for bingo night, March 7th, 2026.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 9, approve application for property tax abatement 2026-2. And Jameson, I'll ask you to address these.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Every year, we typically get a couple of property tax abatement requests from the community, and that the form itself, which you find in the agenda packet, lists the different reasons for why somebody can request for an abatement or refund of taxes. And both of the ones before you today are related to the assessment freeze for the elderly and disabled. So these are folks that would have qualified for that freeze, but they missed the deadline, which was, I believe, last fall. And so these are ones that need to come through the city commission before the county can process them. But these are both, again, properties that would be otherwise eligible for that property, discounted property with this assessment freeze.
Okay. Questions or comments? Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
Are we approving each of these separately?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're on,
Yes.
9.
yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Do we have a motion on property tax abatement 2026-2?
I'll make a motion to approve application of property tax abatement 2026-2.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And number 10, Jameson is the same, right? Yes. Okay, all right. So is there a motion for property tax abatement 2026-3?
I'll make a motion to approve application for property tax abatement 2026-3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 11, approve the updated memorandum of agreement with Lake County regarding 911 Communications Center. Jameson, I'll ask you to address it first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the city and Lake County have a cooperative agreement with the 911 center where both entities help to fund and oversee that. This is, we have an existing memorandum of agreement between those two entities, and this is an update to that existing one. One thing that is being considered is that Minor County is being integrated into Lake County's 911 system. This is something that the city of Madison and Lake County has been working on for some time through that, through our mutual board. And in order for Minor County to be integrated into the 911 system, we would need to have, we would want to provide them with some representation on that 911 board. And so this simply adjusts the language in Section 8 so that other entities can have representation on the board. I know that the city has two representatives on the board, but one being the mayor and the other being Commissioner Dibdahl. And I would defer to either of you for, I guess, details on the conversations of how that's been coming about.
And Kelly, would you mind?
Yeah, no problem. So, as you know, there's I believe a summer study that took place last year, about the consolidation of PSAPs specifically smaller PSAPs throughout the state. And as a result of that, I believe Minor County has been looking for a way to, minimize their expense and streamline that. And so, specific talks with Lake County as well as the city have progressed, and essentially, I don't know that it's fully decided on. I don't think it's past the Lake County level, and I'm not sure about Minor County Commission, but what's basically been agreed on is that they'll pass along their surcharge that they get from cell phones, which ultimately makes about $50,000 to $60,000 a year, as well as an additional annual fee for non-emergency 911 services. And Lake County Dispatch would absorb that and take over their dispatch services. So for now, nothing's really going to change, except for as economies of scale go, this could be a budget saver for the city between 25 and 35 grand annually, which would be a good thing. So I'll stand by for any other questions.
And the other thing in that I'll add to that is that the state adds additional dollars in that for the blending of the two counties. So if they need to upgrade equipment or radios or things like that, there's additional dollars encouraging communication centers and that to merge together. And so this is something that's been worked on for, gosh, at least a year or more in that, and Kelly and I have both been on that board. So anyway, questions or comments at this point? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the MOA with Lake County regarding the 911 Communication Center.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 12, approve the updated agreement for Wheeling Electric Power for Sioux Valley Energy. And Jameson, you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the city of Madison wheels some power to one customer for Sioux Valley. This is a customer that is located within Sioux Valley's electric service territory, so outside of the city's territory, but it is actually closer to our system. And so Sioux Valley and the city have an arrangement where they pay us to wheel that power to them rather than having to extend their system all the way to their customer. And so this has worked well, but as we look to review these agreements from time to time, I'll remind you that last year we did the same thing for the Dakota State University wheeling agreement. That is a 5-year agreement that comes up periodically. And as we did that, we updated some of the calculations for how that works. And so now we are wanting to make the similar changes to the Sioux Valley wheeling agreement so that we have consistent application across different wheeling agreements. I'll stand by for questions.
Questions or comments?
I got a question. I guess, is this an increase or is this staying flat or?
The formula is updated to, I guess, more fairly reflect the cost that the city has to wheel that power to the customer. So there's not a number in there that states this is the wheeling cost. This is the formula for calculating the wheeling cost. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the dollars in that you see there are not the dollars that are going to that particular customer. That just shows the process and that of how basically the charge is calculated. Okay.
And I should note that Blair Metzger from DGR reviewed this as well so we had some outside engineering look on it as well. And he was comfortable with it.
Other questions? All right, if not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the updated agreement for wheeling electric power for Sioux Valley Energy.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 13, February 2026 finance updates. Jameson, you want to take that one?
Yeah, Heather and I will cooperate on this one this month. So we'll jump to the next slide there. Heather, go ahead, get started.
I'll just make some notes here. So this update is going to include the preliminary unaudited financials for 2025 that Amy mentioned she would provide, and then also our regular January 2026 activity. AP automation, we've been testing that with Tyler Technologies, and that's been going really well. A phone payment line has now been implemented, so credit cards, you have to call 1-866-236-8262 and to make your credit card payments online. They're no longer accepted over the phone in the finance office. There will be a new format on the slides here that Amy had also mentioned. So our conduit transactions are going to be on a separate slide going forward, and that we will see here in a little bit. And that will ensure that the operational activity is not distorted by these pass-through transactions. 2024 audit is progressing, getting very close to that. And we are about 8.3% of completion for the year here.
Quick question, Heather. Can you explain what AP automation is?
Yes, so that is a module within Tyler that will read the invoices, and so it'll eliminate data, a lot of data entry. It will also set most of the vendors up on ACH payments rather than us printing checks, folding, mailing them out, and that. And Tyler is ultimately responsible for collecting the vendor data and bank information, and will be the keeper of that. And then this will be, the invoices will be batched and uploaded all at once, and it you can work through it a little bit at a time, but it will just be a lot smoother process for our regular weekly payments.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we'll jump into, as Heather said, we're going to have year-end financials for the fiscal year of 2025. These are unaudited, but gives you an idea of where we were looking at end of year. And then we'll move into the January typical monthly accounts that we've got. So here's the revenue for 2025. The next slide is obviously going to be the expenditures. I do want to call out a couple things here. So the numbers look good. You know, we've received all the revenue that we had projected. I will note that in the general fund, it shows 150% received of budget. The supplemental appropriations that we do each year is where that comes into effect, because cities are required to adjust their expenditures to receive authority from elected bodies before we make appropriations. So the appropriations expenditures are what's always amended. So when we had some of those pass-throughs come through from the industrial park and from the early learning center, those were updated into the expenditures, but the revenues were never updated. So that's why the general fund shows so much higher, because that budgeted amount wasn't adjusted as part of that contingency transfer. So, but I mean, obviously, it's still good to see that more money was coming through than what we were needing. If we go look at the next slide, then this shows that our expenditures are about 89% in total for the whole organization. So we spent less than we had planned, but we did update those expenditures from the general fund and especially the electric fund for those supplemental appropriations that were needed, I think last meeting or a couple of meetings ago. Does that make sense?
And there will be some expenses carried over into 2026, because everything's not in here right now.
Yeah, every year there's some things that we plan to get done in the current budget year, and they fall forward for the next year. There's things that move forward from one year to the other. So, but you know, of course, we do see that our expenditures were under what was included in that amended budget. Any questions? And when we look at the profit or loss, as we know, we had a lot of expenditures, especially on the creek wall repairs, and we're still waiting for some reimbursements on that. So that's where that comes through low, and then costs on electric projects as well. So those are some of the big ones we're at. When you see the general fund at a loss of 2.6 million, that number looks really scary, but you know, just keep going a couple lines. The line 211, 213, those are all revenue sources that generally get applied to that general fund as well. So you see 2.6 on the 101 fund, and then a positive 2.3 on the 213 fund, and so you kind of got to add all those together. Special maintenance fee, the 220, that's a similar thing too, because that goes towards some of the street improvements as well too.
Jameson, just so I'm understanding correctly, the discrepancy between the enterprise funds that's due to infrastructure upgrades?
Yeah, especially the creek bridge mitigation, that 517 fund. My understanding is that we always have interim financing for that, but as that money's coming in and going, we also have the payments for the actual construction, and so we're still waiting on final reimbursements for that construction. The main site number 2, was the last site that was completed, and we haven't received reimbursement on that. And so we always have higher costs than what that interim financing is providing for. Would that be accurate, Heather?
That is correct, yep.
I think you were asking enterprise funds?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, so
the
then
water, sewer,
if you
electric.
continue on with the electric fund as well, there were more expenses there due to the projects that we are undergoing, those construction projects. Heather, also accurate? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other questions?
And they also took on the debt of that bond anticipation note too. So that is reflected on this.
So what will that look like in '26? Number-wise?
So the bond anticipation note was a $4.5 million drawdown for the electric projects here, right? So as far as 2026 goes, you're gonna start seeing higher revenue coming in with that surcharge that was added, and that will pay it off over however many years that surcharge is planned for. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so it almost looks like a discrepancy, but on purpose, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
kind
all
of.
for
Essentially, not on purpose, but that it will look
Right,
wonky.
right.
yeah. 2 substations, conversion in 2025. Yep, all construction projects going on.
And then the water and sewer fund also reflecting that the construction on Egan Avenue that's going on, that will be continuing in 2026.
Sorry, and just one other question on the after-school youth program. There's a difference of about $22,000 there. Is the city subsidizing that program then to the tune of that amount? Is that basically what that is showing?
It has its own, it's funded and accounted for separately. So the prior year, we had some large grants, and I believe the net positive in 2024 was for 65,000, give or take. And so, we're still using some of those grant funds from 24 for some activities in 25, material purchase, that sort of thing. So some years that number has been positive, some years it's negative, but the 621 is a separate account.
And it's carried through the community center.
Yeah. In the community center, 620, in that case, whenever there is a deficit on the community center, that's split between the city and DSU. In the case of the after-school program, I don't know that we would have to be cutting, 60% of that 22,000, because I think they've got kind of cash on hand for that. Would that be correct, Heather?
Yeah, yep.
Good questions. Any other questions on the 2025 financials? Okay, we'll move on to the January 26th. We've got some information there. Cash on hand, you can see here, similar to previous months, general cash, just under 10 million, and then you can see how that's divided out as well, and then restricted cash, 640,000. All right, and then revenue guidelines, of course, January is the only month, so you'll see the same numbers for January and year to date, and you can see where January came in at. I don't think there's anything of particular interest here. Any questions on revenues? Okay, we'll jump ahead to expenditures, which I also don't think I have anything of note. And the profit and loss on the month shows an increase of 217,000. Any questions? Okay, then the next slide would be the year-to-date, but we know it's the same as the previous slide, so we'll just keep on running. One thing we wanted to show is, especially last year, our numbers were sometimes hard to interpret because of the pass-through counts that we had being a conduit for some of those MADC projects. We had the industrial park and then the early learning center. And so I'm not expecting a lot of money to be flowing through this year, but we wanted to try to find a better way of doing this. So this is just an example that, you know, if money were to come through for a large project like that, that comes in and goes out as a conduit, we're gonna try breaking that out, and we'll call that out in a special slide, but that way the other financials aren't as impacted. So this is what that would look like. Of course, right now for this year, the numbers are 0. And then future months, if we don't have any activity, we'll leave this out, but if we start seeing activity there, we can include a slide similar to this.
And so the airport would be one on there also, because that's pass-through dollars usually too.
I would treat the airport as a city department. You know, those are still dollars that we administer and oversee. Whereas the MADC projects like the industrial park were something that they hired the engineers for, and they oversaw the contractor and did all the work on it.
Okay.
But, you know, we're doing that for the airport projects.
Because there will be some more construction work done on the airport coming up.
Yeah, certainly.
And FAA will be covering a huge amount of that.
Yeah, good grants there. And then unfortunately, sales tax, I've checked a few times today, but we have not seen anything for January. So we don't have any numbers there. Hopefully next month we'll have a couple months to catch up on. I will note, just to let everybody brace for it, you know, if you look at the numbers for January, the last couple of years, 24 to 25 went from 471,000 to 526,000. That's a pretty significant jump. So I believe that was an 11-point-something% increase last year. And so it would not surprise me if our January for 26 was down, because we know that the finances in half of 24 and all of 25 were up and down quite a bit with how those taxes were being remitted to cities. So don't have much there, but that kind of wraps things up. Questions on sales tax or anything presented?
What did we budget for this year? Increase?
On sales tax, I'd have to look
We're
that up.
flat?
Let's see.
Was it 2?
No, we budgeted a small increase. I want to say 2%, but we can get
That's what I
a
think it is.
definite answer for you. Or unless, Heather, are you certain that's what it is?
I'm pretty sure, but.
Okay, we can double check that then. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Craig, I saw you signed in. Did you have something that you wanted to have on public comment? Yeah, just a couple of Okay.
There you go.
I keep looking down there.
Yeah?
I would like to thank you for still doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I think there's some places in the country that have forgot that, so.
You know, and I'm always cautious in that I don't make a mistake.
Well, right. We should have it memorized at our age. I do have a question, and I'm sorry if it's repetitive, because I think it's probably been asked, but I'd just like to hear it for myself. I know Kelly works at Heartland Power, right? Yes, sir. And I think there's been a question about a possible conflict of interest. I think that's been brought up. I just wanted to hear myself what that answer was.
I can tackle that if you want.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so with conflicts of interest, there's a few different types, and the conflict of interest in state law and that cities follow, that is most important is direct pecuniary conflict of interest, which essentially means that an individual has a direct financial gain or loss from an action that's being taken. With the rezone, that was separated from any kind of mining facility. That, you know, the first question we ask is, what's the best zone for this property? And if the best zone is the one that it has been under and they didn't want to make any changes, then there's no point in continuing with the conversation of the mining facility. So that's how we try to separate those a little bit. And then since they did want to see that rezone take place, we can move forward with actions at the planning commission as well as at the city commission. And those future actions, if they're more directly tied to a mining facility and the direct pecuniary conflicts of interest that any member might have, they can take that under consideration for any of those actions. So just because there wasn't a conflict deemed on this action doesn't mean that will be the case for the future actions.
Okay.
Now,
to
if
answer
you're
your
a car,
question?
if you're a car salesman and that, and you make a sale and that, and you get a commission from it, that becomes a conflict of interest. But if you're a salaried employee and that, you know, just because you work for the company, doesn't put you in that position.
Okay, that's what I recall hearing, but I just want to hear it. Another question is, the city does get their power from Basin Electric, some of it?
Yes, Basin, well, we get it from Basin Electric.
No, WAPA.
WAPA.
Yeah.
Western Area Power Association, you know, the dams. And then, the remainder of our power comes from Heartland's generation. And that, and so, Heartland is our, provider as well, and East River and that is the transmits it from WAPA and Heartland to the city of Madison.
And Heartland's getting it from either,
Heartland generates it, yeah.
Heartland generates it.
they're just, they aren't really, they're a kind of a broker, aren't they, Heartland?
No.
They're considered actual generation?
Yep.
Yeah,
Heartland
they have
owns-
generation, wind generation, as well as, it's not coal, is it coal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coal.
We have a bunch of generating assets. We have wind, we have coal. The primary generating asset's a coal-fired facility down in Hastings, Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Okay.
So to answer your question, no power comes from Basin Electric to the city of Madison.
Where Basin Electric comes in is they lease our gen plant. And so, even though, you know, the city owns the generation plant that's out there, we lease it to Basin Electric, and they tell us when to turn it on and put it online, and, you know, and they cover the costs of that. Plus, there's a lease agreement in that where the city, receives lease payments and that, for that. And at the end of 2026, we won't have a final payment because we made our final bond payment in December. So that, money that comes in will be part of the electric fund.
So the city owns it, you said?
Yes.
But they,
They lease it from us,
okay,
and they call, when they want additional power on the lines, they make, contact, you know, the city and tell the city when to turn it on and when, how long to run it and when to turn it off, and they cover the costs of that also.
they're covering the cost of running it?
Yes.
Really? And so it's feeding obviously more than Madison, it must be going to them if they're paying.
Well, when you put it out online, it allows, you know, it's kind of like adding water, you know, to the container and it's running out somewhere else. You know, when they need more power generation on the lines, they call the city to start it up and run it.
And I think I've heard a lot of places, they're getting rid of their generation plants like that, so I think it's good that we still have one. I think I've heard, because it's backup basically then, isn't it? 'Cause
Well, I'm gonna say indirectly. It isn't something that we turn on that is going to help the city of Madison, because the city of Madison's on all these same power lines, you know? And so, you know, you're getting into a little bit more detail than what I really have the knowledge on.
Yeah, it's hard to understand everything, but it does directly benefit Madison when it gets turned on, doesn't it? It would, depending who needs the power.
Indirectly,
In the events of a transmission outage coming into town, it can be used as a backup generation source and feed directly into the city of Madison. However, in most cases, when it's called upon, it's for grid support primarily outside of Madison.
because Madison is part of this Southwest Power Pool, SPP. And so, you know, we're not just a standalone state, you know, and so the lines and that accept power from wherever it can get it to keep the lights on in the SPP generation area.
I'd like to play, I mentioned this last time I was here, and it might be a little more beneficial hearing this yourself. If I bring the right one here. There it is. It's just interesting what, this is from Sioux Valley Energy.
There's gonna come a time when they have to, because this country, there's no other way to put it, I'm not trying to be overly dramatic, but at the growth we're seeing, with the technology we're seeing out there, and it continues to just kind of come on exponentially, we are going to run out of energy if we don't build more generation. And again, not trying to be dramatic, it's just a mathematical fact.
I thought that was pretty interesting. That was, I think I mentioned that, that was a webinar that Sioux Valley put on just to directly talk about rate increases, but that sounds like almost I don't know, he's giving a little bit of warning that the way things are taking off in the state and the whole country, it does give a little concern what.
Well, that's one of the reasons in that, that we are upgrading our system, because the power that's gonna be coming into the city of Madison is gonna be at 115 kV. And our system right now is set up for 69 kV. And so this has been in the works for a number of years, but there's two substations. One's being completely rebuilt up by the Prairie Playhouse, and then the one out by the generation plant is being upgraded. So, and currently, Heartland has excess power, and that they sell by the hour or the minute, online for whoever can, purchase it for whatever they can get. This, also gives them, if it comes to fruition, a steady customer, So, and it would benefit the city of Madison as well.
The power that the data center would use?
The power that the data center would use, we would do the financing not the financing, the billing. And by adding 1 cent to the kilowatt, that would generate additional dollars of revenue into the city of Madison.
That's how the city will benefit? Okay,
The city will not have any investments in a data center if one comes. But because the power would be purchased through the city of Madison for our administration and so forth, and that we would be able to add 1 cent per kilowatt hour for what's being used.
all right, that's really all I have. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing under announcements, our next regular commission meeting will be Monday, March 2nd, 2026 at noon. Okay? So that'll be the first Monday of the month, and we will be here at noon. So with that, thank you, everyone.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
I was just ready to leave. So.